What's up? I'm Vin, and today we're going through the STAAR 7th grade math test from May 2022. I'll leave a link to a copy of this test in the description below. Now let's get started. So question 1, we have the length of a ruler is 12 inches and there's approximately 25.4 millimeters in 1 inch. And which measurement is closest to the length of the ruler in millimeters? So what we have here is we have a ruler and it's 12 inches, but the $1 million question is how many millimeters long is this ruler? And the way we're going to go forward with this is we were told that 1 inch is equal to, I'm going to leave a little space, 25.4 millimeters. Okay, so this is something that we do know. And if our goal is to find out what's going on at 12 inches, well, we could take this equation and just do times 12 on both sides. Because when we multiply both sides by 12, now we're going to have on the left, we're going to have 12 inches equals, and then all we have to do here is we're going to multiply, I'll do this in the corner, we have 25.4 times 12. Now, this one here, I know if I did 25 times 10, I would be at 200, or if I did 25.4 times 10, I'd be at 254. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be point C, but let's go ahead and multiply this out anyway. 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 5 is 10, and we carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Put a placeholder, 1 times 4, we have 1 times 5, we have 1 times 2, and now we add everything up here, and 5 plus 5 is 10, carry the 1, and we get this. But notice we ignored 1 decimal place. You see how I technically did 254 times 12. I ignored 1 decimal place. So I just have to pay 1 decimal place back, and that's why our solution here is going to be 304.8, and we have 304.8 millimeters, which is choice C. Question 2, we have a table showing the number of bags of different flavors of potato chips on a shelf, and customers will randomly select 1 bag of chips from the shelf. Here's the number of bags based on the flavor, and we want to know which statement about the flavor of the chips is best supported by the information in the table. So the flavor is least likely to be plain, but notice there's 12 bags of plain chips, but there's even fewer bags of ranch. So the flavor is least likely to be ranch if we were going to randomly choose one of the bags off the shelf. So F is not good. Choice G says the flavor is twice as likely to be jalapeno as ranch. But notice that jalapeno is 18 versus ranch is 8. And if I take 8 and I double it, that's going to be equal to 16, which is not equal to 18. So G is out. The flavor is equally likely to be plain jalapeno, ranch, or cheese. Well, that would mean that there's the equal amount of bags of each flavor. So H is out. By process of elimination, it has to be J, but let's see why this makes sense. The flavor is more than twice as likely to be cheese. Now, cheese shows up 20 bags as it is to be ranch. But think about it, twice as likely. And how many bags of ranch we have? We have 8. So if I take 8 times 2, I get 16. And notice that 20 still beats 16. So this is cheese, and this is ranch times 2. So this last statement here is definitely supported by what we have in the table here. So this is our answer. Question 3, Nicole has a collection of 60 stuffed animals. She's giving them away. She's giving away 5 stuffed animals per month until all the animals are gone. And which graph best describes this situation or best represents this situation? So looking at this, if Nicole is giving away animals, that means the number of animals as time goes on should be decreasing. So we need one of the answer choices where the line is dropping, because choices B and C, the problem with this is that as time goes on, this is saying that Nicole's animal collection is actually growing up to an amount here over 120. And in choice C here, it looks like her animal collection is going past 700, which would just be insane. So we're going to go with choices A or D. But now think about it. She initially has 60 stuffed animals. And notice that choice A is starting at 60 here. So right away, this is looking good. Whereas in choice D, it's saying that Nicole is starting off with 600 stuffed animals. So this can't be it. But remember, she's giving away 5 stuffed animals per month. So if we do 60 animals, so we have 60 animals divided by 5, this will tell us that it's going to take Nicole 12 months to give away all of her stuffed animals. Because think about it, if she gives away 5 stuffed animals a month, so 5 animals per month, and we multiply by 12 months, notice the units cancel out like this, and 5 times 12 tells us 60 animals. So what we have here is it's going to take 12 months, and notice at 12 here that the number of stuffed animals goes down to 0. So choice A is looking good. Question 4, we have a parallelogram and a trapezoid, and we're finding the area of this figure in square centimeters. Well, 2 things we have to know. The area of a parallelogram is equal to base times height, where the base represents one of these parallel sides here, and the height is the distance between those two parallel sides. And then the area of a trapezoid is 1/2 height times base 1 plus base 2. So now we move over to this figure here, and let's just see what we have. We have that in the parallelogram that this distance is 26 centimeters, but just know that the parallel sides that are across from each other are also equal in length when you're on a parallelogram. So I'm just going to go ahead and label this side up here as 26 centimeters. Now the next thing we were told here is that the height of the trapezoid is 16 centimeters, and the entire height here is 32 centimeters. So what we could do with that information is we could find the height of the parallelogram, and that we could just do by doing 32 minus 16, which is 16. So this height has to also be 16 centimeters. And if we want to check, 16 plus 16 is 32. So this definitely checks out. So now to find the area of the figure, what we're going to do for this is we're going to do the base times height, so the area of the parallelogram, and the base is 26 centimeters, times the height is 16 centimeters. So we multiply these two, and we have 1/2. The height of the trapezoid is given here as 16 centimeters. So we have this, and then we're multiplying by the sum of the bases. And notice the bases of a trapezoid are the parallel sides. And remember, a trapezoid only has one pair of parallel sides. So on the inside, we're going to add up 26 centimeters plus we have 40 centimeters, and the rest we could just type into a calculator. So now we just work this out. We have 26, and we're multiplying by 16, and then we're going to add, we have 1/2, which I could just write as 0.5. It's the same thing, times 16. And just know when you want to multiply, you could just put parentheses and then close them. Parentheses mean multiply. And then we also have 26 plus 40 going on in the last set of parentheses. So we could type it in one shot like this right into the calculator, and our solution is going to be 944. So the final area is going to be 944 square centimeters, which is choice H. So question 5, we have triangle QRS and its dimensions shown here. Which measurement in centimeters represents the dimensions of a triangle that is similar to triangle QRS? So what we have here, if we want a similar triangle, that means that the corresponding sides are going to be in proportion to each other. And one thing I look for right away, like notice this is the small, the medium, and the large side here. And let's say I compare the small and medium sides. 6/12 reduces to 1/2. Or I could just think to get from 6 to 12, I have to do times 2. So now notice that these are all in order of small, medium, large. And the first thing I look at is like, okay, if I take the small side 8 and I double it, I get 16, which is not equal to 14. So that's how I know this one's out, because when I double the small side, I should get the medium sides, which is 12 in the original triangle. But notice here, 10 times 2 does give me 20. So this one is a contender, whereas 4 times 2 is 8, not 10. This answer choice is out, but choice D is still in the mix. But now, how do we go from this information here and see which one is the actual answer choice? Well, what we could do is we could set up a ratio between the small sides. So notice this is small, medium, large like this. So I could say, okay, 6/10 has to be equal to the medium side 12 over the new medium side is 20 centimeters. And that has to equal the large side 15 over the new large side is 25. Now divide this one by 2/2 and you get 3/5. Divide this one by 4 and 4 on top and bottom, you also get 3/5. And then divide the last one by 5 and you get 3/5. So this one here is definitely our answer choice. But now let's see why this answer choice is no good. Well, if we repeat this same process here, let's say we compare 6/12. Is this equal to 12/24? And is this finally equal to 15/36? But notice like these two check out, but the last one, if you divide the top and bottom by 3, you're going to get 5/12. And 5/12 does not reduce to 1/2. So that's why choice D is out. Definitely choice B. So question 6, which equation is true when x equals 4? And for this one, you just have to plug in x equals 4 and be careful simplifying. So let's plug into F. We have 3 times 4 plus 4. And is this equal to 8? Well, notice 3 times 4 is going to give us 12, and we have plus 4. And this is equal to 8. You have to be mindful of order of operations here. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And just know, parentheses, exponents go first, then multiplication, division, and then addition and subtraction. So that's why we did 3 times 4 first instead of doing it in a different order. So now we try out the next answer choice, because 12 plus 4 equals 8 is not true, because 16 equals 8 is a ridiculous statement. So this choice is out. And now we could plug into the next one. We have 5 times 4 minus 2 equals 18. This one is looking good because we get 20 minus 2 equals 18. And yes, 18 equals 18 is a true statement. So choice G is good. But just to feel safe here, I could do the last ones and see that they're not going to work out. So let's say we plug into choice H. We know this shouldn't work out, but we get 2 times 4 plus 8 because x equals 4. And now I'm just going to simplify this left to right. That's going to give us 8 plus 8 because I multiply before I add. And 16 is is what this works out to. But notice this is not equal to 40. This should be working out to 40. That's why this crosses out. And then this one here, do 4 times 4 plus 4, and that's going to give you 16 plus 4, which is equal to 20, which is not equal to 12. That's why this choice is out. If we were to flip this to a minus sign, then it would be true, but it's not. So the second option is our best. So question 7, we have the dimensions of a rectangular pyramid are shown in this diagram. What is the volume of the rectangular pyramid in cubic millimeters? Well, just know any type of pyramid where you have a square base, rectangular base, you could use the formula 1/3 capital B times H, where capital B represents the area of the base. So this is a big idea. And what we have is our base is a rectangle, and the area of a rectangle is equal to length times width. So if we piece all of this together, the volume of a rectangular pyramid is going to be 1/3, and then we have length times width, and then times height. So that's the area of our base. Now the rest is just plugging in. We have 1/3, and then the length and width, they didn't specify which one's which, so just let's say we call this the length and this the width. So you have 1/3, we have 5 millimeters times 4 millimeters. And notice this is multiple choice, so we don't have to write units here, but it's just good practice. And the height of this pyramid is 6 millimeters. So I could use a calculator for this, or we could just multiply this ourselves. So we have 5 times 4 is 20. And then if I do 20 times 6, that's 120. So I have 1/3 times 120, millimeter times itself 3 times is cubic millimeters, or millimeters to the third. And then if I do 1/3 times 120, that's just 120 divided by 3. And 3 goes into 12 4 times, 3 goes into 0 0 times. And that makes sense because 40 times 3 is 120. So this works out to 40 cubic millimeters, and this is choice D. So question 8, we have Imani is comparing the number of fluid ounces per bottle of sunscreen to the cost of the 4 different brands, and the information is gathered in this table. Based on the data, which brand of sunscreen has the greatest cost per fluid ounce? So for something like this, what you should find is the unit rate. So what we could do here is we could take something like brand W, and it's going to be $12 for 20 ounces. So what we could do here is do 12 divided by 20 and see how much does the sunscreen cost per ounce, and do that for all the brands. So we'll just do all the division here. We have 12 divided by 20, and this is going to work out to 0.6. So this represents 60 cents per ounce here, and we could do this for all the other brands. So now we just borrow the results from the calculator. Brand W is going to be 60 cents. So this is 60 cents per ounce. And then next we have 75 cents per ounce for brand X. And then for brand Y, we have 65 cents per ounce. And then last we have brand Z is 50 cents per ounce. So once again, we just take the cost and divide that by the number of ounces here. So which one has the greatest? That's going to be brand X here, so choice G. Question 9, Chad is going to have new carpet put on the rectangular floors of 2 rooms in his house. And one floor we have is 12.5 feet long. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw the rectangular floor here. It's 12.5 feet long. And what we have is the other floor is 15 3/4 feet long. So let's go ahead and draw the other floor. It's a little bit longer like this, and it's going to be 15 3/4. And just know 3/4 is the same thing as 0.75. Just think 3/4 is 75 cents. So that's where the 0.75 is coming from. So now that we have this, we're also told that the width of each floor is 10 feet. So I'm going to go ahead and label this 10 feet. And the second floor, I'm also going to label 10 feet like this. And we want to know, what is the total area in square feet of the new carpet? Well, for this one, the total area is going to be the area of the first rectangle, which is going to be the first length times the first width. So we have this length and this width. And then we have, and I can even put L1, W1 for the first length and the first width. And I could call this one L with a little small 2. That means subscript, but L sub 2 here would say the second length. and W sub 2 would be the second width. So we have 12.5 feet times 10 feet, and then we're going to add the product of, we have 15.75 feet, and we're multiplying that by 10 feet. And this we just type in a calculator. So we can just work this out. We have 12.5 times 10. And if I had to do this without a calculator, when you multiply by 10, you just have to move the decimal one space. But we have a calculator, so why not? And now we have 15.75 times 10. And this product in sum is going to work out to 282.5. So our total area is 282.5 square feet. And this is going to match up. Let's make that a little neater, but this is going to match up with choice C. So question 10, we have a scientist measured the weight of squirrels in two populations, and the dot plots display the data from each population. So which statement is best supported by the information in the dot plot? So the two populations have different mode weights. Well, let's look at that here. The two populations have different mode weights, and just know the mode is the one that shows up the most. Okay, so mode means the most. And looking here, the mode for the first population is going to be 15, because you see how 15 shows up the most. It shows up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and then the other entries show up 4 times and then 1 time each at the ends. So 15 is the mode for population 1, and 15 is the mode for population 2. It shows up 5 times compared to the others. So the two populations have different modes is not correct. They have the same mode. The two populations will have different median weights. Well, once again, here we're looking at these populations, and notice the symmetry that surrounding the mode. You see how we have 4, 4, 1, and then we have 4, 4, 1 going this way. So if I were to draw somewhat of a curve like this, you see how there's going to be symmetry like this. So the middle values are going to be here right in the center at this line of symmetry, and that line of symmetry is going right to 15. So what we have here is the median is going to be 15, but notice this one is pretty evenly spaced as well. There's symmetry about this dot plot. There's symmetry where the center or the axis of symmetry is touching 15. So both of them have a median of 15. So choice G is out. Now the data for these two populations have different skews. Well, when I hear skew, that means that it's not symmetric. It would look something either like this, where there's like a tail going to the left, or it would look something like this, where there's a tail going to the right. So that would be if, you know, we had a dot plot where, let's say it's like 1, and then we have 2 like this, and then we have, let's say 3, and then instead of like 2 like this, it just goes, maybe it just starts to break that pattern like this. And you can see how it doesn't have that smooth, you know, that smooth shape like these other two did. There's no symmetry here, but these both are symmetric, so neither of them are skewed, so H is going to be out. Now option J says the data for the two populations have different ranges, and the range is the difference between the biggest and smallest entry in the data set. So notice we're going to be doing 18 minus 12 for population 1, and when we subtract those, that means this has a range of 6. Whereas for population 2, if we do the biggest number 19 minus the smallest number that shows up is 11, we get a range of 8. So these two definitely have different ranges. So choice J is our answer. Take a second to read through question 11. So we have this survey, and it's talking about different types of occupations of a 1,200 resident town. And we have the types of occupations are shown in a circle graph. And using this graph, how many more residents have an occupation in industry than have an occupation in government? So we're talking about industry and government, but notice the government percent is missing. So what we're going to do is find the missing percent. Now, since it's a circle graph, we should have 100% in total. So we could start by adding 25 plus 25 plus 15 plus 30. And now adding this up, 5 plus 5 plus 5 is 15. We carry the 1, and then we add up all these numbers. We should get 9 here. So the missing percent has to be 5%, because if I were to add another 5, notice this brings us to the desired 100%. So now think about the question again. How many more residents have an occupation in industry? Well, we're comparing 25% in industry versus 5% in government, and the difference between them is 20%. So how many more residents? 20% more have an occupation in industry versus government. But notice this is a bit of a trap here. We're asking how many more residents, not how many more percent are in industry versus government. So we have to take 20% of 1,200, and just know 20% we can express as 20 over 100, and then this becomes 0.2. So now just multiply 1,200 times 0.2, And this we could do in a calculator, or we're just multiplying a whole number by a decimal. It's the same thing as 12 times 2, and I think of 24, except we're just going to have an extra 0 here. So this is going to be 240, choice C. So question 12 is a free response question, and we have 1 year on Venus is equivalent to 224.7 days on Earth. And how many days on Earth in decimal form are equivalent to 9.5 years on Venus? So what I would do here is just set up a proportion. So we have 1 year on Venus. So I'll put 1V for 1 year on Venus is equivalent to 224.7 days on Earth. So I'm just going to put a capital E next to it, just so we're keeping track here. And now I'm going to put a V and an E here as well. And now we read the second half of the question. It says how many days on Earth. So this is the part we want to know. I'm just going to put an X here. How many days on Earth is equivalent to 9.5 years on Venus? So I'm going to put a 9.5 here. So now if I want to solve for X, I'm just cross multiplying here, and I'm doing X times 1 is X equals, and now we're just doing, I'll write this in the corner, we're doing 224.7 times 9.5. And this we could just type into a calculator. So if we type that into a calculator, we should get 2134.65. So if we record this here, and this is not telling us to round to any particular place, but we're just going to go ahead and leave it like this. Question 13, we have a ruler here, and we're going to measure the circle, and we want to determine the circumference. And now to find circumference, you could use circumference is equal to pi times diameter, or you could use circumference equals 2 pi r. They're both going to get you the right answer. But either way, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to measure the diameter of this circle. So I have to go from one point to another point here, and I have to make sure I line up with the center. So we go ahead and line up and make sure that you see where 0 is over here. That first line is going to go on that first point like this. And you can see here that we're lined up. We're making sure we pass through the center. And if we look, it's taking at about 7 centimeters for us to measure this distance from one point to another, making sure we're passing through the center. So our diameter is going to be 7 centimeters. So now we'll just record this. We have a diameter of 7 centimeters. And to find the circumference is equal to pi times diameter. So we could say here circumference equals pi times 7 centimeters. And the rest is calculator work. So we're just going to type in 7 pi like this. So we have 7. We hit second in this up arrow here. Press enter. And here's our circumference. So we're looking for the measurement that's closest here. And closest would be if we round this to 22 centimeters. This is going to line up with choice C. Question 14, we're at a bookstore and there's mystery bags, each containing 12 books in total. And the quantity of each type of book was the same in each mystery bag. All right, so this is really big. So whatever type of book we have, there's the same amount in each mystery bag. And a shopper bought 3 mystery bags and found out that 6 books were spy novels. So I'm just going to draw 3 bags here. So here's our bags. And the shopper got 6 spy novels in total. Well, if there's 3 bags, that means in each bag there were 2 spy novels. So 2 spy novels, if we multiply 2 times 3, that's going to give us the 6 total spy novels. And now based on this information, which prediction can the shopper make about buying mystery bags in the future? Okay, so there will be 4 more spy novels in. And now here we go, 8 bags. Well, if we have 8 bags and there's 2 spy novels in each bag, that would be 16 spy novels. And if we got 6 bags, that would be 12 spy novels. Well, think about it. There will be 4 more spy novels in 8 bags than in 6 bags. That's true because 16 and 12 are 4 away from each other. So right away, this is our answer choice. But now let's see why the other answer choices are no good. So now we have there will be 2 more spy novels in 6 bags. Well, 6 times 2 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8. Notice there's a gap of 4, not 2. So this one's no good. This one here, we would have 9 bags times 2 is 18 spy novels. This would be 16 spy novels in 8 bags. And there would be a gap of 2, not 1. They're saying 1 more, but it should be 2 more. So this one's out. 10 bags should have 20 spy novels. This should have 16. So that's a gap of 4, not 6. So J is out. Definitely the first answer choice. Question 15, we have a dog eats 1.25 cups of dog food twice a day. Well, think about that. 1.25 cups twice a day. So cups, and then it's times 2 per day like this. Well, if you think about that, twice a day, if we did 1.25 times 2, that would equal 2.5. So that would be the same thing as saying the dog eats 2.5 cups in one day like this. Okay, so the twice a day is a little bit distracting here, but that's 2.5 cups a day if we multiply the number of cups by 2. So now we have to find a graph that best represents this? Well, let's look at this graph here. This is saying that in one day, the dog eats, this looks like at about 1.25, but the problem with this is the dog is eating 1.25 cups twice a day, which is equivalent to 2.5 cups a day. So you see how this graph is not going up fast enough. A is out. So now we look at B, and this says in one day the dog eats, this looks like about half of a cup, and the dog should be eating 2.5 cups by the end of the first day. So this choice is out. Now we look at this choice, and on day one, notice we're at the 2.5 mark. And then when we go to day two, well, think about it, 2.5, if we do that plus itself, 2.5 plus 2.5 would be 5. So after 2 days, the dog should be eating 5 cups. So choice C is looking good right away, but let's see, why is choice D no good? Well, on the first day, the dog is eating about, this looks like about 0.75 cups, which is way short of 2.5 cups. So choice D is out, definitely choice C. Question 16, we have a table here showing the number of pencils based on the color of the pencil that's in a pencil case. And we have a student that's going to randomly select one pencil from the pencil case. Based on that information, which statement is true? The pencil is least likely to be blue. Well, looking at this here, if we look at the smallest number of pencils, that corresponds to red pencils. So it should be, the pencil is least likely to be red, not blue. So this one is out. That's not true. The pencil is 4 times as likely to be purple than it is to be red. Well, looking at this here, there's 2 red pencils and there's 8 purple pencils. So yeah, if you think about it, 2 times 4 is equal to 8. So this is looking good. The pencil is 4 times as likely to be purple, is looking like our answer choice. But let's see why the other ones are no good. So if we look at the other ones, we have the pencil is equally likely to be blue or green. But notice that blue and green, there's 4 blue and 5 green. So there's not an equal chance of picking blue versus green. There's a slightly better chance of getting a green pencil than a blue one because there's more green. So H is out. And now we have the pencil is more likely to be purple than all the other colors combined. Well, look at it. There's 8 purple pencils, and then the remaining would be 2 plus 4 plus 5. And if you add these up here, this is actually going to work out to 11. So you have 11 versus 8. So there's a better chance of picking one of the other colors if we're considering all of them than just picking purple. So J is out. So definitely the second answer choice. Question 17, which number line best represents the solution to the inequality given here? So for this one, what I would do on the side is just solve this for x. So I would start by moving the minus 8 over to the other side. So we could go plus 8 on both sides like this. And that's going to get the minus 8 plus 8 to cancel. And we have 3x is now greater than or equal to 7 plus 8 is 15. And now divide both sides by positive 3. The 3 divided by 3 cancels out. And you've got x is greater than or equal to 15 divided by 3 is 5. So now I'm looking for x is greater than or equal to 5, which is looking like the only 2 possible answer choices that are decent are going to be choices C and D, because notice that they start with the solid point at x equals 5. However, since we're greater than or equal to 5, we're going to be shading to the right. So that's why choice D is better than choice C. Choice C would be correct if we were looking for x is less than or equal to 5. But this one here is x is greater than or equal to 5, and that's our answer. Question 18, we have some information about angle F and angle H. They are supplementary angles. The measure of F is 77 degrees. So I'm just going to write that here. And the measure of angle H is 5x plus 18 degrees. And we want to know which equation can be used to find the value of x. So for this, supplementary means the 2 angles have a sum of 180 degrees. So what we need to do here is we need to add these 2 expressions together. We're going to have 77 plus 5x plus 18, and this sum we're setting equal to 180 degrees because that's based on the definition of supplementary angles. So now we just scan the answer choices here, and this is looking like choice G. Question 19, we have a spinner with 6 equal sections here. And what is the probability of spinning a number that is greater than 4? So right away, what I'm going to be looking for is how many numbers on the spinner are greater than 4? Well, that would just be 5 and 6. And how many numbers is that? That's 2 numbers out of what is the total number of possibilities? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total possibilities. So the probability of spinning a 5 or a 6 is going to be 2 out of 6. And we would just reduce this by dividing the top and the bottom by 2. And this is going to reduce to 1/3. Choice D is our answer. Question 20, which equation represents the linear relationship between the x and y values in the table. So here what we could do is we could take any 2 points, like let's say these 2 points here because there's no negatives involved. So I'm looking at the point 1, 1 and 3, 13. And I'm going to label this x1, y1, and this one here is x2, y2. And I'm going to find the slope, and the slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And this tells us the rate of change here between the x and y values. So what we're looking at here is if we plug in, we have m equals, we're going to have 13 minus, so we have y2 minus y1 is 1 divided by, and next we have x2 is 3 minus x1 is 1, giving us 12 divided by 2, which is equal to 6. And now remember this formula, y equals mx plus b. The m value, the slope, is the rate of change. So we're looking for a line that has a coefficient or a number in front of x that's equal to 6. So right away I could see all the other answer choices cancel out except h. But what you could do if you're not certain about an answer, you're like not confident, you could always just start plugging in points. Like let's say I plug in x equals 5 and y equals 25. And if I plug in here, I would have 25 equals 6 times x is equal to 5 minus 5. I notice I get 25 equals 30 minus 5, which equals 25. So these points will all check out into this answer choice. So this is definitely our solution. Question 21, we have a sidewalk that's in the shape of 2 triangles. So that's the 2 triangles here. We have a rectangle and we have a square. And we want to know what is the area of the sidewalk in square feet. So we need to know a few formulas. The area of a square is equal to whatever the side length is times itself, where the side squared. And then the area of a triangle is equal to 1/2 base times height. And then finally, the area of a rectangle is equal to length times width. So we're going to use these 3 formulas to answer this question. But first, we should find the missing angles and sides. So since this is a square, all of these angles are going to be right angles. They're going to be 90 degrees. And this is a rectangle, so all 4 angles here are also 90 degrees. And because on a straight line we have 180 degrees, if this is 90, that means this angle here has to be 90. And the same thing over here, 90 plus 90 makes 180, making this a straight line. And now next we could use the fact that in a square, all the sides are equal in measure. So that means this side over here is also 6 feet. And in a rectangle, opposite sides are equal in measure. So that means going across here, this is 18 feet. And then this vertical distance is 6 feet. Now, one thing to be mindful of is that the entire horizontal distance is 30 feet. So far, we have 6 feet plus 18 feet, which is 24 feet. And if we subtract that from 30 feet, that tells us this missing horizontal distance is 6 feet. So that allows us to complete labeling this. So now we're ready to find the area of the sidewalk. So I'm going to write the units on the outside, which is square feet. And now we just use the formula. We have the square is s squared. So we have 6 times 6. So I'm going to do 6 times 6 like this. And then we're adding the area of the triangle is going to be 1/2 the base is 6 times the height is 6. Just no parentheses. Parentheses means multiply these two. Or I could just put the times symbol like this between them. And then we have next plus the area of the rectangle is 18 times 6. So I could just write my 18 times 6 like this. And then last we have another triangle with the same area as this. So we're going to have 1/2 6 times 6 again. So now the rest is just simplifying all this. So right now we have 36 plus half of 36 is 18. Plus this is going to give us, if we work this out, 60 plus 48 is 108. And then we have plus another 18 here. So now we could use a calculator, but I'll just go ahead and add all of these up. So we're just taking the sum of these 4 numbers. So we have 14 plus 8 is 22, plus another 8 is 30. We carry the 3. 3 plus 3 is 6, plus another 2 is 8. And then this is going to give us, we're just carrying down the 1. So it's looking like choice D, 180 square feet. Question 22, we have the price of a computer is $899. The tax is 7%. What is the sales tax on this computer in dollars and cents? Well, for one, we have to be able to take 7% and turn it into a decimal. So first we could turn it into a fraction. 7% means 7 out of 100. And this as a decimal is going to be 0.07 because this is 7 hundredths. So it's going to go in the hundredths place. Another way to convert from percent to decimal is I take the number in front. So it's 7 and think of it as 7.0. And I put a few zeros in front. And then I just move the decimal 2 places to the left. And you see how that makes 0.07. So that's the decimal we need. And we're going to multiply this decimal by 899. So I have 899.00, and I'm multiplying by 0.07. So to make sure that we're doing this accurately, what I like to think about from this step is how many decimal places am I ignoring? Because in a way, I'm just going to be doing 899 times 7. So I'm ignoring 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. So 4 decimal places at the end need to be paid back. So I'm doing 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 0 is still 0. 7 times 9 is 63, and I carry a 6. And then 7 times 9 is still 63, plus 6 is 69. I carry a 6. And then 7 times 8 is 56. And if I add 6, I'm going to get 62. But remember, I ignored 4 decimal places. So I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4 decimal places. And that means our tax in dollars and cents is going to be $62.93 like this. Now, one thing, this is a does my answer make sense little thought process. One thing I do right away just to make sure my answer is reasonable is I think 10% of 899.00, if I take this number and I want just 10%, I only have to move the decimal one place to the left. So 10% would be 89.90. So 7% should be somewhat nearby here. So that's how I know I'm going to wind up with 62.93 and not something like 629.30, because sometimes students will struggle with where to place the decimal. But if you use a calculator, it's just going to give you this anyway. So this is our solution to question 22. Question 23, we have an online game increases the number of users at a rate. So this is the $1 million phrase right here, at a rate of 500 users each day. Which graph best represents the relationship between Y, the number of users, and X, the number of days? So for this, we could just look here. So X, Y. So let's say they're all starting at 0, 0. But on the first day, we're going to have 500 users, because 500 users, remember, Y is users and X is representing days. But let's say on day 1, we're going to have 500 users. On day 2, 500 more are showing up. So that's going to be 1,000. 3, we should be at 1,500. And so on. So this is the pattern that we're gaining 500 users per day. So now let's look at the answer choices. Choice A, notice what they did. They made the mistake of switching the scale for the y-axis with the scale for the x-axis, because what this is saying that in 500 days, so you see in 500 days, that's the label for the x. We're gonna have one person playing this game. That does not make sense. So that's out. Here we have in 10 days, we're going to have 500 users. But notice this is counting by too much. We should be counting by ones here, because on day 1, we're having 500, not on day 10. So this is out. And now looking at this answer choice here, this is telling us that by 4 days, we're going to have 500 users. But on day 1, we're going to have 500 users. So this is out. But now let's look here. On day 2, we should have 1,000. There's the check. By day 4, we should have 2,000. And yeah, if we continue this, add another 500, you'll be at 2,000. So choice D is our solution. Question 24, we have the radius of circle S is half the radius of circle L. So I'm going to draw a circle S, and then I'm going to draw a circle L to be a bigger circle like this. So the radius of L is 8 millimeters. So this is circle L. I'm just going to label the center with an L, and the radius is 8 millimeters. But now let's reread this carefully. We're told here that the radius of circle S is half the radius of L. So this radius here should be 4 millimeters, because we're just going to divide the 8 millimeters by 2. Now, which measurement is closest to the area of circle S in square millimeters? Well, no, the area of a circle is pi r squared. So what we're going to have here is A equals pi times, and we have 4 millimeters, and this is being squared. And if we do 4 times 4 is 16, we're going to have 16 times pi square millimeters like this. And now just scanning the answer choices, I could use a calculator for this, or we could use a little bit of common sense. Just know pi is roughly 3.14. And we know that 3.14 is greater than 3, but not by a lot. So if I wanted to, I could take 16 and multiply it by 3, and that gives me 48. And notice that this answer choice is a little bit more than 58. But I'm going to go ahead and use a calculator to verify that this is our best answer. So we could just take pi and multiply by 4 squared, or we said 4 times 4 was 16. And if we work this out here, this works out to 50.26. So question 25, which situation is best represented by the following equation? Now, anytime I have a linear equation like this, just know in general, y equals mx plus b. This represents the total amount in word problems. M represents the rate. It's the slope of a line, but in the context of word problems, this is the rate of change. And then the plus B is the initial or the fixed amount. So then I read through the answer choices, keeping this in mind. So an office manager was paid this much money to build a website. The office manager bought a software package for this much money and paid an employee $127.95 for each hour. So you see here, this is the rate. When they give you a dollar amount per hour, that's representing the rate. But remember, the rate should be the number in front of the X. But the number in front of the X here is 68.50, not this. So choice A is out because the rate is in the wrong spot. So now we have next, an office manager paid this much money. Notice all these questions are starting the same. They paid this much, this much, this much. So the real difference is going to be in the second sentence and on. So the office manager bought one monitor for this much. So this is the fixed amount. One monitor, this is a fixed amount. And hard drives, that cost $68.50 each. So notice here's the rate, $68.50 for each hard drive. So far this is looking good. What is X? The number of hard drives the office manager bought. So right away I'm looking at this and saying this looks good. Choice B, but I'm going to see why the other answer choices here are no good. So option C, we have the total bill. The sales manager paid this much money per hour. So right away, here's the rate, and this is the fixed amount. And they're saying over here that this is the rate of change. So this is where they don't add up. Our rate should be 68.50, not this. And received a discount. So this is way off. There's no discount going on here. And then last, we have a business owner paid this much money for two employees to work the same number of days. The business owner paid one employee this much money, paid the second employee this much money per day. So right away, the word per is attached to the $127.95, which would be the rate. But right away, them introducing a second employee just makes this more confusing. So we just chop this out here, and choice B is going to be our answer. So question 26, Regina has 3 number cubes, and the face of each number cube is going to be numbered from 1 to 6. Regina is going to roll each number cube one time. So one time for each cube. And what is the probability that all 3 numbers will land on an odd number? So what we have here is, imagine a cube. And this is like if you play board games or anything like this, you roll the dice to see where you're going to go. But this is a different situation here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the options. So first we want to find what is the probability of rolling an odd number. Well, odd numbers here are 1, 3, and 5. And notice that that's 3 options out of the 6 total options. So there's a 1 out of 2 chance of rolling an odd number, but this is a very dangerous bear trap here. We have to be very careful. The question is asking, what is the probability that all 3 number cubes will land on an odd number? So we look at these 3 options here. Well, there's a 1 out of 2 chance of rolling an odd number on the first cube. There's a 1 out of 2 chance of rolling it on the second, and a 1 out of 2 on the third. Now we just have to multiply these 3 together. We have 1 times 1 times 1 up top is 1 over 2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 8. So there's actually going to be a 1 out of 8 chance that Regina rolls 3 cubes where they're all odd. Question 27, what is the solution set for this inequality? So we could start here by subtracting 5 and 1/2 on each side. So we subtract 5 and 1/2, and just know 5 and 1/2 is the same thing as 5 plus 1/2. And that's the same thing as 5 plus 0.5, which is the same thing as 5.5. So you are allowed to turn this into decimal form if you'd rather work with decimals, which I would. Mixed numbers are a little annoying to work with, so I like to switch. So these are going to cancel. We have minus 5d is less than or equal to, and if I do 17 minus 5.5, I'll just tack on a 0.0 here. We borrow to make that a 6, and we're going to be left with 11.5. So I'm just going to tack on our 11.5 here. Now, another thing, we're dividing both sides by a negative. So you have to be very, very careful here. If you forget to flip the inequality sign, that's a very dangerous bear trap. We're going to have to, because we're dividing by a negative, the sign is going to flip to greater than or equal to. This happens when you multiply or divide both sides by a negative. And now what I'm going to do on the side is ask myself, what is 11.5 divided by 5? So this, I'm just going to work out over here. So we divide by 5. 5 goes into 11 twice. We subtract 2 times 5 is 10. We have a remainder of 1, and now I carry down this 5, and that decimal I'm just going to line up here like this and throw it up top, because now we moved after the decimal, and then 5 goes into 15 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15, and now it divides evenly. So this tells us that we're going to have 2.3, but be careful here. We did 11.5 divided by -5. So a positive divided by negative is negative. And now if you scan the answer choices here and see which one, we're stuck now between choices A and B. Oh, and of course, be mindful here that the 0.3 at the end, this is the same thing as saying D is greater than or equal to -2 and 3/10, since 3 over 10 is the same thing as 0.3. And if we look here, notice our answer choice is going to be A. Choice B is choice B for bear trap. This is for the student that forgets to flip the sign after they divide by negative. Choice A is our solution. So question 28, we have the net of a triangular prism and its appropriate dimensions are shown in this diagram. And which measurement is closest to the total surface area of the triangular prism in square inches? So really what we have to find here is just the area of this whole thing. So we could label some of these missing sides, and what we have so far is that this distance over here, because this is a symmetric looking diagram here, is going to be 4 inches as well. And now if we scan a little bit more, notice that this piece over here is 12 inches. So up here we could say this piece is also 12 inches. And then what I would notice over here is that if this is 12 and 12, then over here we're going to say is 12 inches and 12 inches like this. So we're just using the symmetry of the figure to move forward. And now what we're going to do is find the area of these 1, 2, 3 rectangles and these 2 triangles and add it all up. So notice the rectangle here is going to be a 4 by 12 in all 3 cases. Notice because this distance is not changing, we have 4 and 4. So this is a 4 by 12, a 4 by 12, and another 4 by 12. So I could say here that so far we have 12 inches times 4 inches is going to give us 48 square inches. So each of these on the inside are 48 square inches of area. So that's these 3 here like this. They're all the same. So far I have 48, 48, and 48. And now I would find the area of these 2 triangles. And notice here that the base of this triangle is 12 inches. So I'd have 1/2 times 12 times the height of this thing is 10.4 like this. So half of 12 is 6. I could use a calculator here, but I'll just do 10.4 times 6. And we're going to have 24. So I carry the 2 like this. 6 times 0 plus 2 is 2. And then 6 times 1 is 6. And this works out here to 62.4. So that's the area of one of these. But we have 2 of them. So I have 62.4 showing up twice. And now all I'll do from here is just add all of this up. So we have 4 plus 4 is 8. Carry this decimal. This is going to give us 3/8 gives us 24, plus another 4 is 28. We carry the 2, and now we have 6, 10, 14, plus 6 is 20, plus another 6 is 26. So we're looking for this. So this work is going to match up to choice F. So question 29, we have the manager of a coffee shop recorded the number of customers who put vanilla or chocolate creamer in their coffee and classified them by age. Here's the results in this table. What percentage of these customers put chocolate creamer in their coffee during this hour? So one thing I like to do here is put the totals across the top and the bottom here. So if we look, the total number of people going across this way is 8. If I do 2 plus 6, that's the total number of 18 to 30-year-olds. And then 4 plus 8 is 12. And if I add this up, that means there's a complete total of 20 people that are being studied here. And then the number of people that prefer vanilla, 2 plus 4 is 6. And then the number of people that prefer chocolate, 6 plus 8 is 14. So now we have all the stuff we need. What percentage of these customers put chocolate creamer in their coffee? Well, in total, there's 14 people that prefer chocolate. Out of the total number of people in this study here is 20 people. So now 14 over 20, we just have to turn this into a percent. But a nice little trick here is you could multiply by a mystery number on bottom to make the fraction out of 100. And if I say, oh, 20 times 5 would give me 100, I have to multiply the top by 5. And 14 times 5 is 70. So this would work out to 70% like this. Choice C. Question 30, we have an engineer created a scale drawing of a building using the scale 0.25 inches represents 2 feet. And now we have here the length of the actual building. So the length of the actual building is 250 feet. And what is the length in inches of the building in the scale drawing? So here we have to set up a proportion. So what we have is 0.25 inches is equal to 2 feet. And we want to know here, well, what would it take? How many inches in the scale would it take to correspond to 250 feet? So this is the mystery here that we're looking for. And what you could do is set up a proportion. What we have is that we have 0.25 over x is equal to 2 feet in the actual world divided by 250 feet in the length of the building. So you see here, once again, like on this side, we have the scale and we have the actual. So 0.25 corresponds to x, 2 feet corresponds to 250. And now we just cross multiply like this, and we have 2x is equal to, we'll just get rid of that stray mark. So 2x is equal to, if we do 250 times 0.25, that's going to work out to 62.50. What I'm thinking of is 25 times 25, or if you have to, you could just go ahead and multiply this on the side like this, and this will work out to 62.50. And now that we have this, we're going to divide both sides by 2. And after we divide both sides by 2, we have x equals 2 goes into 6 3 times, 2 goes into 2 once. I throw in my decimal, I'll put a 0 here. 2 goes into 50 25 times. So what is the length in inches of the building in the scale drawing? It's going to be 31.25 inches. And here's our solution. So question 31, we have box plots for a university and a community college. We want to know which statement is best supported by the data in the box plot. So we have the median of the data for the university. Now just know the median is going to be this value here, is the piece that's inside of the box, that vertical line inside of the box. So we have the median of the data for the university is greater than the median of the data for the community college. But notice they're equal. They both line up with 12, so this is not it. Next, we have the range of the data for the university is greater than the range of the data for the community college. Well, the university, the range, I'm just going to write here, is going to be 16 minus 6. So notice we're going from here to here. We're going from 6 to 16, and those numbers, if we subtract 16 minus 6, are 10 units away from each other, whereas the range for the community college here is going from, well, it's starting over here at 3, and it's going all the way out to 18. So if we subtract, that's a range of 15. So now let's read this again. The range of data for the university is greater than the range for the community college. That's not true. The community college has a greater range than the university. The interquartile range, okay, so that one, interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1. And notice that Q1 starts here inside the box like this, and Q3 is where the box ends. So this is Q1, this is in a way Q2, Q3, and then the fourth quarter ends at this value here. So the interquartile range we're doing for the first one is going to be 15 minus, and notice this falls in the middle, so we're doing 15 minus 9. So 15 minus 9 is equal to 6, whereas in the next data set here, the interquartile range is going from 15 to 6, and 15 minus 6 is equal to 9. So now the interquartile range of the data for the community college is greater. That's definitely true, because the community college, the interquartile range was 9 versus 6. And now let's look at choice D. The third quartile of the data for the community college is greater than for university, but notice their third quartile both line up at 15. So the third quartiles are equal. That's why choice D is no good. Definitely choice C. So question 32, Alice has a loan of $24,820. This loan has simple interest. The rate is 3.5% per year. No payments will be made on this loan until the end of 1 year. How much interest will Alice pay on this loan at the end of 1 year? So looking at this, what we should do first is take 3.5% and convert it to a decimal. So 3.5 out of 100, and if we move the decimal place 2 to the left, that's going to send us to 0.035, which we could check by moving it 2 to the right. It would send us back to 3.5. So now what we're going to do is multiply the total amount of the loan was this by the interest rate is 0.035. So we multiply this out here, and we'll have 24,820 times, we said 0.035 like this. So here is our interest. So this is going to line up with $868.70, choice F. So take a second to read through question 33. Now we have a student that has a set of cards, and there's pictures on each card, and this is how many cards the student has of each type. We want to know which statement here is true. So we're talking about probability. So what I would do before we read anything is I would find the total. And if we do 8 plus 12, that's 20, plus 10 is 30, and then we have another 10, which gives us a total of 40 cards. So this is going to help us when we actually have to calculate probability. So let's read through these. The probability of selecting a card with a picture of a circle is 5 out of 8. Well, notice that there's 8 circle cards, and 8 out of 40, if you reduce this by dividing the top and bottom by 8, this is actually going to reduce to 1/5. So this tells us that the probability, so I'm just going to write that over here, the probability of getting a circle is going to be 1 out of 5. So the probability of getting a circle 5/8 is not looking good. So we're just going to chop that out. And now next, the probability of selecting a picture with a circle is 3/8. That is also gone. The probability of selecting a card with a picture of a circle is 1/5. Right away, this is looking good. And then the probability of selecting a card with a picture of a circle is 4/5. This one is out, but let's just look here. The probability of selecting a card that is not a picture of a circle is 4/5. Well, yeah, because you could either get a circle or not get a circle. So the missing probability is always 1 minus whatever the probability is, because 1 represents 100%. And if we do 1 minus 1/5, that's 4/5. So that's why choice C is our answer. Question 34, we have a model representing an equation. What is the solution for this equation? So the variable is the square here for the x's. And notice that the triangles have a 1 on the inside. So these represent our constant terms. But when you're solving an equation, the goal is to get rid of the stuff that both sides have in common. So you see how we could get rid of 4 triangles on both sides. So we could just chop this out right away on both sides. And then what we have left here is we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like this. And then if we want to solve for x, we just divide both sides by 5 like this. And this is going to give us x equals 6/5, which matches up with choice G. Question 35, we have a survey showed 8 out of 20 homeowners in a neighborhood have cable TV. If there's 320 homeowners in the neighborhood, how many could be expected to have cable television? So 8 out of 20 represents the percent here of people in the survey that have cable TV. So we're going to use that to predict how many people will have cable TV or are likely to have cable TV for the whole neighborhood. So here, if I want to think of this as a percent, I want to think of what's the mystery value to multiply 20 by to get to 100. And I can multiply by 5, but if I multiply the bottom by 5, I have to do the same thing on top. And that would give us 40 out of 100. And 40 out of 100 is the same thing as 40%. So 40% of the people in the survey said they have cable TV. And as a decimal, this is 0.4. I could say 0.40, but that trailing 0 doesn't add any significant value here. So I'm going to leave this as 0.4. And now I want to take 40% of 320, and that's going to tell us how many could be expected to have cable television. So we're going to take 320, and if I want to take 40%, I'm just going to multiply by the decimal 0.4. And now we multiply 4 times 0 is 0, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12, and I ignored that 1 decimal, so I have to pay it back over here. And this tells us that 128 people could be expected to have cable television. That's our solution to 35. Question 36, we have a student survey here about their favorite type of animal. And here's a bar graph recording the results. What percentage of the students surveyed selected bird as their favorite type of animal? So I would just look at the totals here. So there's 2 people that like fish. There's 4 people that like lizards. 6 like birds. There's 10 people that like dogs. So dogs are the favorite. And then cats are in second place here. So the number of people that like birds as their favorite animal is 6 out of in total here. So we could find the total is going to be the sum of all of these numbers. 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 6 is 12. 12 plus 10 is 22, and 22 plus 8 is going to give us 30. So we're going to take 6 out of 30. And 6 out of 30, if we divide the top and bottom by 6, reduces to 1/5. And if we want to turn this into a percent, we could play that game again of what's the mystery value to multiply by to make 5 into 100, and that would be 20. And I'd have to multiply the top and bottom by 20, giving me 20 out of 100. And 20 out of 100 is 20%, which matches choice F. Question 37, we have a principal gave a class $75 to pay for a field trip to the zoo. And the students in the class are selling pies for $5 each to earn the rest of the money they need. And the field trip will cost a total of $386. Now here's the actual question. Which inequality can be used to find P, the number of pies the class needs to sell in order to earn enough money to pay for the trip? Well, remember, these are all linear inequalities here, and they're generally in this form of mx plus b. But remember, m represents the rate, b represents the fixed amount. So what we have to think about in this question here, the principal gave the class $75, so this represents the fixed amount. because the principal is not giving them $75 repeatedly. The principal gave them $75 once. And now the students are selling pies at a rate of $5 per pie. So this represents our rate here. So when we start to set things up, we're going to have 5 times P, the number of pies, plus 75, and then the total bill is 386. But now the $1 million question here is, so you see we have 5P, 75, 386. This narrows it down to choices A and B. But the $1 million question is, are we going less than or equal to or greater than or equal to? So let's think about this logically. The class has to raise this much money to go on the trip. So this is the minimum requirement for students to be able to go on this trip, is that the whole class has to raise this much money. So think about it. This is the total money raised. So the total money raised by the class has to be more than this amount here or equal to it. Because if this is the minimum requirement, the total money raised has to be greater than or equal to this. Because think about it. If you have less money than this, let's say you show up to the zoo and the total bill is $386 and you're like, hey, I only have $100. They're going to reject you. You need more than or equal to this much money for the trip to happen. So this is going to be choice B. So question 38, we have a rectangular prism and we're given the dimensions of this thing. So this thing here is going to have specific dimensions of 1.5 feet by 3.5 feet by 2 feet. Now, I didn't draw this necessarily in the order of the dimensions they gave us, but this is looking like the longest side. So I'll call this one 3.5. We'll say this is a close second at 2 feet, and then the last one is 1.5 feet. And we want to find what is the volume of this thing in cubic feet. So the volume of a rectangular prism is equal to length times width times height. So what we're going to do here is plug all 3 of these values into the formula. We could call this one the length, this one the width, and this one the height. The question didn't specify, so we're just going to take these 3 numbers and plug in. We have 3.5 feet times, we're multiplying by 2 feet, and then we're going to multiply by 1.5 feet. So this we could do in the calculator, or if we go piece by piece, 3.5 times 2 is equal to 7. And if we do 7 times 1.5, this I could write in a different order, or I could just work this out. And what I'm thinking of in my head, if you want to do some mental math here, is I'm doing 7 plus half of 7 is 3.5. That's what it means to multiply by 1.5, is you add half of the number onto the number. And 7 plus 3.5 is going to give us 10.5. So I'm scanning the answer choices here. 10.5 cubic feet is going to match up with choice J. Question 39, the circumference of a circle is c inches. The diameter of the circle is 19 inches. So I'll just define that here. The diameter is 19 inches. Which expression best represents the value of pi? Well, if I write out the formula here, the circumference of a circle is equal to pi times diameter. You could also say the circumference of a circle is 2 pi r, but just know that 2 times the radius is equal to the diameter. So now we can just plug in here. We were told here that the circumference is c, and this is equal to pi times the diameter is 19 inches. Notice there's no units in the answer choices, so I'll leave it out here. And if I want to solve for pi, this is pi times 19. The opposite of multiplying by 19 is to divide by 19. And notice 19 over 19 cancels. So pi equals circumference divided by 19 here, which matches choice A. So we made it to the final question, question 40, and we have a monthly budget for a small family, and here's their budget. Which equation can be used to find B, the minimum amount of money the family must earn annually in order to meet this budget? Well, one thing to be mindful of is that this budget is the monthly budget, and what we're trying to find is an annual budget or a yearly budget. So what we could do is take this total budget here and multiply it by 12, since there are 12 months in 1 year. So 12 months is equal to 1 year. So if we find this total here, we're going to add up all of these values here. Now, just making an educated guess that if you add up all of these numbers, it's either going to be 3,630 or it's going to be 43,560. Now, this is a monthly budget. This is an insane amount, but go ahead, run this through the calculator, add up these numbers. You're going to get 3,630. So that is our total monthly budget, 3,630 per month. But we have to think about this very carefully. 12 months in 1 year. So if we want a yearly budget, our yearly budget is going to be how much we're paying, $3,630 per month, but we're going to be multiplying by 12 months because there are 12 months in a year. And notice that months over months cancel out like this. So if we do 3,630 times 12, this is matching up with choice F.